I couldn't be more excited for this week's main topic because, look, I love Disney's Animal Kingdom, but I will tell you right off the bat, if you're looking for somebody to give you information on everything about the Animal Kingdom park, that's not me. I can tell you a few things. I like, hey, be sure and get to Nomad, check out Pandora, Kilimanjaro Safari's pretty cool. But I really don't know as much as I probably should about this amazing, unique, very unique park. But the good news is Michelle is here to save the day, as she always is. And she's going to provide us with some interesting information about Disney's Animal Kingdom park. Some things that maybe you know about, maybe you don't, but I'm willing to bet, because this happens every time we do one of these, that I know I'll learn something. I think you'll probably learn something as well from one of Michelle's interesting, fun research pieces. So Michelle, what are we doing today? What are we talking about concerning Disney's Animal Kingdom?
Well, the title of our episode today is One Park, Many Worlds, the Wonders of Disney's Animal Kingdom, because there are a lot of many aspects to this park that I think are pretty amazing. And it's also something that I'm going to share with you as we go along is my transformation as I prepared for today's episode. Transformation. But I thought it might be interesting to also start with a quote actually from Walt Disney. And he says, "I have learned from the animal world, and what everyone will learn who studies it is a renewed sense of kinship with the earth and all of its inhabitants."
I'm an inhabitant. Everybody else is an inhabitant.
Which I thought was really cool that, there was that Walt, said that. I mean, and then I remembered he really was a pioneer in the area. I mean, he brought the True Life Adventure series to us. That was something that was never done before. And I just think it was, like I said, he was a pioneer in this area. And I just felt like it kind of really was a good way to start today.
I have no doubt Walt would love Animal Kingdom Park. I mean, he wanted real animals on the Jungle Cruise if he could have done it. And then it didn't work out. It didn't make any sense. So that's why they did the animatronic versions of animals on the Jungle Cruise. But he wanted that. He loved, again, like you said, the adventures, the real life adventures, that, leading into Disney Nature and everything else. That is something that he was all behind. And so he would love Animal Kingdom Park. No question.
Good point. I totally agree. So my question was, when I started this, is Animal Kingdom, what is it? And, my first thought when we were preparing was to really focus on a lot of the conservation efforts and things. And I know we've done that in the past, but I thought, well, I could still shine some light on some things. But I started first like, well, Animal Kingdom, it seems like it's a zoo, right? And, when
they don't want you to call it that.
I know. And when you've visited some world-class zoos, like, we've gone to San Diego Zoo, which is phenomenal, then it's like, what does Animal Kingdom have that, that they're top class zoo at San Diego? So
and the safari park, if you go to San Diego, don't just go to the zoo,
right? Go
out to the Northeast County and check out the safari park as well, because I think Animal Kingdom probably got a lot out of from what they're doing. It's the safari park.
Right. So then when you think, I know it's a theme park because they tell us it is. And when you think of theme parks, you think of immersive storytelling experiences, entertainment, shows, fun, unique food. Well, that is what Animal Kingdom Park has to offer, don't you think?
Oh yeah, 100%. All those things. Very much so. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, as I was doing research, one of the things I read about was that when they first opened the park a little more than 25 years ago, they created a time capsule that they buried it. The plan was to open it on their 25th anniversary, which they did. And one of the things that was written in there that really kind of caught my eye was that the cast of 1998, when they opened the Animal Kingdom, said they are honored to open a new species of theme parks. getting emotional.
Mhm.
And I just love that play on the words. And I think it was really capturing the essence of this as not being a zoo, but a theme park.
Yeah, that's great. I love that they kind of had that foreknowledge of what it would what they were building and what it would become.
Right. So there was a letter. I'm not going to go through the whole letter, but there was an excerpt from it that I thought really was also very touching. They said, "The branches of our company's legacy spread high and wide, but but the branch we share with you is particularly special. As it was passed to us, we are passing on to you Walt's love and appreciation for animals, an inheritance of which this park was based on and which we can all be proud."
Mm,
So
that's
I
sweet.
just thought, you know, I had never thought of that with Animal Kingdom, that it was something, like you said, Walt loved animals and wanted to see them in the parks. And so, it really is at the foundation of the company's history to want to do something like this. And what did they take from that love and what did they create? So now, another thing that I thought was uh, a funny thing, before we kind of get into this subject, is I know that drinking around World Showcase is a thing. It's a big thing. I
Is
like
it?
it.
I've never heard of it.
I
Is that
know.
something people do?
We both like it. But as I was, yes, people do that, honey.
Oh, okay.
But as I was doing the research, and a lot of times when we've gone to Animal Kingdom Park, we've gone through when they've had special events. And so a lot of times the food and the cocktails that we've been really focusing on are things that were unique to those events and not necessarily what they have more routinely at the park. And so when I was looking at some of this stuff that I'll go through a little bit more as we touch on different parts of the park, is there are a lot of really fun and unique cocktails, of course, and food too, to explore. I'd have to say my wilderness badges would be a little different, created about cocktails.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's just a thought that, I know World Showcase gets this big, people who really love doing that, but Animal Kingdom has that to
Not a bad
offer.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not a
right.
bad
So,
spot.
all right. So, you ready to get into the park's many worlds and how they connect through a deeper purpose? So, starting with the adventure realm, and that's really with Asia and Africa. And if you look on this slide here, it's maybe not as easy
For
to see,
those of
but
you
it's
watching on YouTube.
on YouTube. Yeah. So it's the furthest areas away from the entrance, but they're the largest, obviously, Africa and Asia. So there's a lot of reality in those adventure realms because it's actual animals and things that you can explore. But the other thing that they bring in is really welcoming people to experience the culture. So they're trying to like have that sense of adventure in there and realism, and subtly you also get that edutainment portion of
Yes.
it.
Transported to a different part of the world,
Right.
several different parts of the world, some real, some fictional,
Right.
but very much so. And yeah. And so just to let you know, if you're, some of you are listening to this on the podcast, hopefully, what we're showing is a map here of the grounds, and you can
Right.
see on the map Africa and Asia way back tucked in the back part of the park,
Right.
but yeah, really cool. Really
Yeah.
cool.
So, for example, they have Harambe Village in the Africa section, and it's not just a place to see animals. It's, really designed to be a living, breathing East African town. They even have their own little fictitious radio station. And it really captures, if you look around, it does capture the essence of that. It's not glitzy like you think of some aspects of a theme park. And I think that was one of the things too that I had in my mind. A theme park, it's shiny and it's bright, and this isn't that. But I think with what they provide in the surroundings, how they have the posters and things do look worn, it does really capture that cultural essence of that town that they're trying to, showcase, as well as the talent that they bring in when they have, the performers who come in.
Yeah, Joe Rohde and the other Imagineers, when they were developing this park, did go on many, many road trips
Hmm.
to research and find out what would these areas look like. What would it be like to create these spaces within a park and make you and have you feel like you're transported to somewhere in Africa, in a village in Africa, or somewhere
Right.
into Asia. Into a town in Asia, and I know especially when I go to the Africa portion of it, like I mean, having never been to Africa,
Hmm.
but it is from things we've seen on television and in movies and everything else that have actually visited those areas. It feels like you were dropped right in one of those towns, villages, whatever, in the middle of that continent.
Exactly. Exactly. So talking about adventure realm and adventure world, they have a lot of great experiences that touch on adventure. You have the Kilimanjaro Safari, of course, the Kali River Rapids, the Maharaj Jungle Trek, and of course, Expedition Everest, the legend of the Forbidden Mountain. Um, so it's really a lot of adventurous activities that you can do while you're there. And again, there's the narrative of a very subtle showing of conservation of what these adventures and the intertwining of us in the animal world and the importance of that. So I'm interested, honey, for you, like what are in Africa or in Asia, what are your like must do's in that area, and what do you think of the uniqueness of this as a part of as excuse me, as a theme park?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I love about that, yes, is there are all these wonderful, amazing adventure attractions throughout those two portions of the park. But there are also like some amazing trails, everything where you can just kind of go around and walk around and check out the animals. In different parts, you can walk a fair amount. I mean, and get a lot of steps in and go deep into the jungle per se, or
Hmm.
or you can just take some small loops and still get to see some amazing animals through those areas. And then, yeah, if you prefer to be more adventurous, you can go and do. I mean, not that the Kilimanjaro safaris is super adventurous. I mean, it was once when there used to be the chase of the poachers and everything, but that's not there anymore. Now it's
Right.
more focused. Like it was always about the animals, but now it's completely focused on the animals, and that is a must do for me. Like if I go to
Yeah.
animal, I need to find a way to get on Kilimanjaro safaris. Hopefully we get there early because when it's cooler out,
Hmm.
you tend to see more of the animals. But it's spectacular. I love it so much. Expedition Everest. Wow. I'm not going to say it's my must do. I'm going to say it's one of the best roller coasters in theme parks in general, anywhere. I mean, it's fantastic. There's so many wonderful things about it. I can't do it all the time because my body just doesn't deal with it that much anymore. But I do love it. The Kali River Rapids, we do not do regularly, but I will tell you, there was one time where we did it. That the funny thing about it is you go on there and you could go up and we come out just a little splash on you, mostly dry. There was one time we were on it, and when we were going through it, like we got doused right off the bat. And then it seemed like anytime there was a waterfall or anything else, it would look like we were going towards it, and someone else in our tube, our boat,
Yeah.
was going to get wet. And then at the last minute, it would make that turn and it would hit us. Every single waterfall hit us. Luckily, it was the end of our day and it was warm. So we just kind of sloshed our way to the
Yeah.
exit after that. And I don't know if we've been on since, but hey, Florida, it's getting hot now. It's going to be 90s this coming weekend. It's not so bad when the Kali River Rapids are open. It's lot, but I don't want to get that wet.
Right.
Maybe I should have put on a poncho or something, and to
It was
enjoy it in the
pretty
future.
hilarious.
But that was a very funny adventure for
Right.
us through Asia, for sure. But so many things there. Festival of the Lion King. There's great shows in that area as well.
Mhm.
Festival of the Lion King is one of the best shows anywhere.
Right.
There's just greatness everywhere. What was it? Rafiki's Planet Watch
Right.
as well. Are you going to be talking about
Yeah,
that?
a little
Okay,
bit.
I'll leave that for
Yeah,
you to
just
talk
a
about. But
tad bit.
now I'll just talk about the train a little bit, because the train feels like many trains you'll
Right.
see in Africa. I mean, obviously not as loaded down as some
Right.
things that you will see, but I like the train aspect of it is
For
in there as
sure.
well.
Yeah,
And another thing Walt would love, because you know he loved trains.
that's good point. Excellent point. While we're still in this area talking about it, they do offer some various specialty excursions that you experiences you can pay a little bit more for. I know one that we've enjoyed and was the Wild Africa Trek.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We had it booked for January, but
To
unfortunately
do again,
got sick,
yeah.
couldn't do it again. But we've done it in the past. But that's how much we liked it, is that we wanted to do it again, and I still do want to do it again. It's really wonderful, slightly adventurous, but not super significantly adventurous. I mean, there are some points where if you're issues with heights or some other things, you might have some trepidations about it. But there is some climbing, there's some hiking, but you're always safe. You have great guides with you, and you get really into parts where you get up close and near these animals that you don't get that opportunity necessarily when you're just walking on the trails. And you have these wonderful guides that tell you some more interesting details about them. And you also get at the end of it, you get a nice ride in a private vehicle kind of through some of the Kilimanjaro area, some of the savannah, and then you get really excellent lunch at a private area overlooking the savannah. It all is spectacular, fantastic. It's not cheap, but it's well worth the money, in my opinion. And again, something we will happily do again, and probably even do it again later on at some other point.
Right, exactly. I couldn't agree with you more about that. And we did talk about it more in length in one of our other episodes, so I won't take too much time. But they also have other ones that are less expensive and less elaborate, maybe,
Yeah,
but still
take
can
up
show
a good portion of your day as well.
Still show you some highlights in a more minimal amount of people mode and stuff. So something some people might want to consider.
Yeah,
Now,
and several that work with some of the animals you love, like maybe you see the elephants, but maybe you don't get to to where you want to really get close to the elephant. Maybe you love elephants. There's the one was it Walking with Giants or Working with Giants? One of those two. That people have said that's a great thing. It's only like a couple hours, but they really get up close and get your chance to interact with those amazing creatures.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the tour guides are amazing, and you can really feel their passion for what they do and in working with the animals. And speaking of working with the animals, like you brought up about Rafiki's area, you can take that train. I agree with you. I love it. It's not long enough. I'd love to stay on it longer, but
you just keep doing the loop.
I know. There you go. It does take you to and from Conservation Station, and there's a lot of things to see out there. A lot of things to do. There's things great for younger visitors to the park as well as adults. And I can't underscore doing some of those things that may seem focused for the kids, that you can learn and have a good time as well.
Yeah, there's the petting zoo down there.
Yes.
That lots of kids are going to love the petting zoo. All sorts of different creatures down there. There's that space inside where a lot of times you'll actually see them doing some medical testing or actually working on some of the interesting animals that are
there. That's what I was just going to kind of delve into. If you're really adventurous and that you can stomach it, and I'm not saying it's not, I don't think they would do anything there that would be too elaborately or gross, but some people might not have the stomach to look at animals being worked on. Generally speaking, you're seeing them do their like checkup kind of things where they're just examining it, and it could be something as small as a bird. We've seen
little tiny birds,
or larger animals. And sometimes they might be handling something that may be a little bit more concerning, but those things typically, if you're really interested in seeing them, are in the morning. Usually in the morning that you can see that. The other great thing that they do with that is they do have somebody from the team. What you're doing is you're looking at them behind glass, but they have somebody in the same room that you're viewing them, and they will be there to help explain some things or answer questions. And they're really very warm and inviting for people to ask questions as well. Also in that area is the Animal Nutrition Center, and that is just amazing as well. And here's a fun fact that I'm going to throw in early, that each animal has their own diet plan. And it's estimated that 10,000 pounds of food per day is served daily
Mm.
there. And that the Animal Nutrition Center is a platinum certified zero waste facility as well. So, pretty amazing things. Again, it's that edutainment, but it's also really instilling the importance of that conservation efforts that they take on.
Yeah, to me, you were talking about must-dos in Africa and Asia. That is something, if you're there, because this is, I mean, yes, there are some amazing attractions there. Of course, Flight of Passage, Expedition Everest. There are some fantastic things that you may want to do as an adventure attraction aficionado. But to me, you're going there because of the animals, and really the chance to possibly see some of the work that these amazing handlers and veterinarians and everybody else is doing on them. And some of the animals there that you get to see up close, and learn more about. In an area that you could just, if you're just going from attraction to attraction, restaurant to restaurant, bar hopping from the lounge to lounge, whatever, you may miss the train. You may miss where that's going. You may see the train and like, I don't know what that's going. I'm not going to go there.
Right.
It's really something that you should explore and check out at some point.
Exactly. Well said. And like you said, you're there for the animals, but there's so much more there. And I think also, at least I can speak for myself, when we've gone there, I've enjoyed it, but I don't know that I really paid attention to the details of it, or knowing some of the backstories, like knowing that, they have specialized diets for each animal, and how much. I mean, that's a lot of food. That's, I mean, 10,000 pounds a day. It's, but it's, I think,
just a little less than what I eat every day.
But it just definitely gives you more appreciation for when you're out there to capture that. And obviously we're kind of skimming over all of these things. We're not going into details of what these adventurous experiences are about, but just to have that awareness that it is the sense of adventure, that, it's not just a zoo going to see animals. You're experiencing the adventure, and they happen to have animals.
Right. And you're getting these moments where you can understand them and appreciate them that much more, and also still have good theme park fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, we touched on a little bit in the intro about adventurous food and drink. Excuse me. And I'm not going to go through all the spots and restaurants that they have. We're right now talking about Africa and Asia. I think people know they're the big ones that they have, like the Tusker House, which is a character dining location, and Yak and Yeti. But there are a few other gems that maybe even, fast food. I think we've had great experience at parks with fast food. And here they have the Harambee Market in Africa. That's quick service. You can do mobile ordering. But it's cool that they actually also have a storytelling backstory that I don't know that I've ever thought about or considered, but as I was researching, I found it. And here's what they said. It says, this location is where flavors and people commingle, constructed around an old colonial era train depot and lorded over by an iconic water tower. This active marketplace showcases distinct personalities and menu. It's created using produce and raw goods delivered daily by local locomotive. And here, the citizens of Harambee welcome travelers from around the world, encouraging guests of every age to tantalize their senses.
Nice.
Right? I mean, it's a quick service restaurant. And if you
An
just
elaborate backstory.
Right. If you don't think about it, if you don't know it and you just go there to eat, you're missing that cultural connection with what you're about to experience with the food.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, it's African inspired dishes. They have like bowls and salads there. And it's not one of those locations where you're going to have maybe the most boldest flavors, but it is an introduction. And I think that, again, with what they're trying to share with people, it's beneficial in that regards.
Yeah, completely. Again, you're trying to immerse yourselves within these cultures, and obviously it's a theme park. You're not really going to Africa. You're not really going to Asia. You're not really going to Pandora. But the fact that they can try and make it feel as close as possible is amazing, and one of the things we love about these Disney parks.
Right. And again, it's through adventure, it really can help inspire people, and it can inspire kids to maybe think, hey, maybe some career with the world of animals is something,
For
or
sure.
conservation efforts or whatever. But so one other thing I want to mention in this area when we talk about adventurous food and drinks is the Dawa Bar. Now, this is an open air lounge. Can be great way to get out of the rain. Although sometimes because it's open air, the rain, Florida is coming pretty sideways. But for the most part, but it's just definitely well themed within that area and how it looks and everything. But it's also a place where you can actually have beers and wine from Africa. Taste some of those. But they also have a specialty cocktail that I'm looking forward to and trying next time. It's called Lost on Safari. I don't know how we've never tried this, but it's Star African Rum and Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum with their Pangani Punch. Now, Pangani is actually a real town in Tanzania.
Tanzania?
Tanzania, yes. But yeah, so again, great theming, edutainment at its best. And I just think that I love this concept. Now they have just regular little tables and chairs. It's first come, first serve that you can go there. They do have an actual bar that you can sit at the bar. Each stool is different. It just really, they've captured all the details and essence of that location, of that, what you would, expect from that area. And it's kind of subtle that you might walk past it and not even notice
I think
it.
we have most of the time.
Just walk past it. So anyways, just some things to think about and maybe explore as a new way of enjoying this park. Now, before we move on to the next world, I wanted to share another quote. This one is from Joe Rohde, and he's talking about Expedition Everest when he was being interviewed. And I just thought it was really cool, very powerful. And it emphasizes the adventure and realism that you experience in these lands. And it reminds me also of Walt's desire to bring these real experiences to the parks. And this is what he said. He said, traveling to the Himalayas with the team research trips in our conservation expedition Mission Himalayas was one of the great adventures of my life. From the moment we threw our duffel bags out of the hovering helicopter along the Kali Gandaki River and jumped out onto them to be met by a horse team taking us onto the fortified town of Kagbeni, it was my dream come true. Then he goes on to say, I would go back in a heartbeat. So working on Expedition Everest was a particularly personal joy. It's common with projects that some of my fondest memories are of the moments right before we open the project. It's nearly complete. It's an entire world unto itself, but not yet up and running. So you can wander through it, wandering through your imagination. He said, Everest, and he's talking about the attraction, Everest was like that. Almost every space in that attraction is stunningly realistic. So walking around in is like walking around in my memories of being in the Himalayas.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know in the queue they have actually pieces that they've taken from climbing expeditions to Everest, and they've placed it within that queue. So when you're there, be sure and look around.
Yeah.
You'll find some unique and interesting stuff that's straight from the Himalayas. Yeah.
Right. And again, there with this realm of adventure and realism, they really wanted to capture the important essence of those. And you can tell their devotion, especially, Joe Rohde being, kind of spearheading this, of how he felt about the Himalayas, his experience, and how he was glad to see it did translate into this attraction.
Completely, 100%.
So, all right. So the next world we're going to look at is the fantastical worlds. And let's take a look at the map that we're talking about here. And that is the areas of, and it's hard to tell that I guess it's not highlighting. I apologize. So it's the Pandora area and the Dino Land area. Those are the ones that kind of are more forward, closer to the entrance of the parks, just to the left and right.
Pouring one out for Dino Land that's going away
Yes.
soon. Yes.
Yes.
That's your last moment. You still have a chance. You still have your opportunity for a little bit longer.
For
End of the
sure.
year. To
For
the end of the
sure.
year. Yeah.
Now, both of those worlds, Pandora and Dino Land, like you said, it's going to be Dino Land is being replaced by Pueblo Esperanza in the future, but also really touching both of them still touching on that fantastical, that fantasy storytelling, and which is one of the things we note is also something that inspires people's hearts and their minds. So it does also fit well into Animal Kingdom if you're thinking about that. So thinking of Pandora, the world of Avatar, it celebrates the magic of nature. And as you enter the area, that massive surroundings truly make you feel transported to another world. And we've discussed in another episode a little bit more recently too, how at nighttime you get an even different perspective of that area with the luminescence that are surrounding you. What are your thoughts, honey?
Yeah, I mean it's this beautiful area just at any time of day, but you get there in the evenings, and when you get the chance to be there in the evenings, because this park closes early, which is understandable, but also a bit unfortunate. But when you get the opportunity to be there in the evenings, when the bioluminescence comes out, it just takes another life form. Literally, it's bioluminescence. It takes a different life. It transforms that area into another level, and you can still get a piece of that bioluminescence if you do the water attraction, which the name of it
is the Navi River.
Thank you.
Yeah,
the Navi River journey. Yeah, if you do that, you kind of still can get that piece of it and still be there during the day. But we've been lucky enough to experience it a couple times in the evening, and we've also were lucky enough to run through there on a Run Disney race when it was still not quite light yet. So the bioluminescence was still there early in the morning, which was really extra special. You don't get a lot of runs necessarily through Animal Kingdom when you get to check that out. So when that happens, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. So yeah, it's amazing. It's the same world, but it's two different worlds depending on when you're there.
And I know recently we shared with when I took my sister there and giving her, she had been to Animal Kingdom, but before Pandora was open, but for her to be able to see just the amazing things overhead, the nature look of it and everything. And then we did get to go back later on when it was dark enough to really get to appreciate, how it looked at night, which took on a whole different view. So now I'm focusing mainly right now on Pandora Land, mainly because Dino Land is going away, but Dino Land. But so
you're stuck on the Flintstones.
I know.
It's not Dino, it's Dino.
You sure? But anyways, both of the attractions at Pandora, the Flight of Passage and the Navi River, they're really set to spark emotional connections with nature. And if you, again, thinking of theme parks, both of those are very immersive type of experiences. And I know that even when I was researching this, Joe Rohde was saying when they completed the Navi River and they were viewing it before opening it, they were blown away at how emotional connection that they felt, more so than that they ever expected, even with the trial runs of it and everything like that. And I think that we've gone through and experienced that too, that you go through and you're thinking, oh, this is just a nice little boat ride, but after a while, you're really consumed in it in a positive way, and it's almost like a Zen moment kind of experience.
Yeah, it's exactly. Zen is perfect way to put it, because it's very soothing. And you do feel really transported within that world and seeing the various creatures scampering about, because I mean, say what you want about Avatar. Some people love it. Some people, it's just kind of but it's all about, being there and developing a a oneness with nature,
Right.
which is kind of what this park is about. And you really get that experience through that. Yes, it's not as adventurous as Flight of Passage and many, many other attractions, but I'm a big fan of a boat ride. I'm a big fan of a dark ride, and you put them together. It just feels really nice and calm and soothing, and it just takes you to that world.
Yeah.
And it's got one of the best
I
animatronics
was
out
just
there
going to
for
say
sure.
that. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Now, Flight of Passage, like you said, is adventurous, but it still is emphasizing the connection with nature, things that you're seeing as you're, flying on your Banshee. Is
Just the connection to your Banshee is part of
true.
that. You are
Yes.
actually theoretically
Connected.
connecting to your Banshee. So you're literally connecting with nature.
Right. And I love the detail when you're sitting on the apparatus that you feel the Banshee breathing, as it touches your legs and everything. They really are making sure that experience, really brings as much of that world to light for you. So now, this land also, like we talked about before in the other ones, has wonderful theming in food and drink. And if I'm not mistaken, honey, I think this is one of your favorite areas to try out different foods.
It's definitely one of my favorite quick service restaurants. Satuli Canteen is, I just love, I think it's very playful. The dishes are very playful, but they pack a lot of flavor within them, which, quick service, it can be hit and miss. You can find some wonderful quick service restaurants and some others that are just the standard theme park fare. And some of it that can just, it seems like it might be exciting, but it's kind of flat. I just think Animal Kingdom is one of the best food destinations. You talked about that a little bit,
Right.
Of any of the Disney theme parks. But Santuli Canteen is definitely one of those top ones because again, whether you're a vegetarian, whether you're a carnivore, whatever you like, it's there for you, and it's going to bring the flavor for you as well.
Yes, and the presentations definitely are beautiful, and I think they capture what you would expect in that area as well. Now, as we mentioned, and I know this is news that's out there, so I'm not saying anything that's earth-shattering news, but Pueblo Esperanza, which is going to be themed around tropical Americas, is coming, and it's really also showing that the park is evolving as well. Now, from what's been announced so far, sweetie, what are your thoughts?
I couldn't be more excited about it. Dino Land was great. Dino Land has great areas for kids to play in, which hopefully they will, when they transition to this, that they'll still find those spaces either elsewhere within the park or within that space to find some more areas where kids can enjoy some good times within the park, not just necessarily being on attractions. But I mean, the fact that I always felt like, and tropical Americas is kind of a wide expanse,
right?
But really, you're mostly talking about South America, and you're talking about Central America, and it's a place that I've said for years that is underrepresented in the parks. I've often talked about how I kept expecting at one of these D23 expos that they were going to announce some new lands within World Showcase, some new countries, some new pavilions, and I often thought that maybe Brazil was going to be a one time. When Encanto came out, I thought maybe Colombia would be named as it. It totally made sense to me. Well, they didn't do it for, probably many reasons, but also because they were thinking about opening up this area, which makes sense because some of them, the biggest areas of life, of wildlife, that you're going to find is located in South America, in Central America,
Right.
A wide array of wildlife that we still have not found everything, so it makes total sense. And then you throw in fun things that people love, like Indiana Jones, like Encanto, and make it all around that. It totally makes sense. And I'm excited about it. I know that people love Dino Land and they're sorry to see it go, but I'm very excited for Tropical Americas. I'm excited for what they'll do with this area. And I think it completely fits into the Africa, Asia, Tropical Americas trifecta that you're going to have kind of in that space.
True, absolutely. And again, with the expectation of inspiring people, getting them to understand connections. And I think those, even just with what we're hearing about, like you said, Encanto and Indiana Jones, really fit into that spirit as well.
Also love that when we heard from the Imagineers, when we did the 50 years of Space Mountain, that the Imagineers were talking about, and they said this is going to be entirely new. We're not taking anything from Disneyland's version of the Indiana Jones attraction, which uses the same kind of ride vehicle, same kind of ride system. But they're doing a completely different story. It's completely original, nothing borrowed, something brand new. So that excites me as well.
Exactly. Not to put you on the spot, I mean, you might already know this because you do know some Spanish. Do you know what esperanza means?
Not right at the moment.
Please. Hope.
Hope. Very good.
So
Very good. I do know some Spanish, but words often elude me.
Right. All right. So now we're going to touch into the heart of Animal Kingdom Park, and that is Discovery Island and the Tree of Life. And as you can see, that's kind of just the real center island that is there at the park. And it's the one where everything else spokes out from.
The hub.
It is the
hub of the park.
And it really makes sense how they've made that area be the heart of it. So it's physically and intentionally the heart of it. It's what they say. It's blends whimsy, wonder, and learning together.
Mm-hmm.
So. Now, obviously, the first symbol there is the Tree of Life with all its grandeur and emphasizing and honoring animals and their place and connection in the circle of life. But they also have some really neat winding trails around the Tree of Life where you can really spot some live animals like kangaroos, flamingos, and other ones. And I know it's an area I think one of the times I went alone and I kind of just went past that, and you're the one that brought that to my attention, that area.
Yeah, just always I find this with several parks, but especially this park, that the path less taken. I mean, obviously there's the ways to go to the main attractions and to the main portions of the park. But every once in a while, you'll see a little trail splitting off from one side. And that's where you'll find some of the most amazing spots to find the nature, find the beauty, find whatever you're looking for. Just a little Zen moment.
Right.
Just a little pocket, as the Dillos like to say, to kind of relax. There are a lot of those within this park.
Right. And I love how it's set up really. Anybody can enjoy them, but kids, they've included the way the viewing area is to really make it kid friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Now we had Tough to Be a Bug show that we know is going away. One thing highlight about it is how they use humor to really show that connection again and the importance of like bugs on the ecosystem.
Yeah, it was edutainment. I mean, again, it was a little creepy, a little scary. It's a little gross sometimes, but it was really talking about something that, people, they see a bug, they want to, slap it and get rid of it, but how important, yes, I mean, bugs can be annoying and gross and weird, and scary, but they all have a reason within this circle of life, right, and what they do to help make this world, go round essentially, and help us all survive. And that did, as tough as that show was, and I think it wore out after some time, and that's the reason why they're replacing it. It did send an important message.
Right. In a very cute, humorous way.
Unfortunately, sometimes it got lost because people were, what's that? What's that stinging me? And what's that dripping down on me? Why are the spiders coming from the ceiling?
True.
Sometimes maybe you got too terrified to actually hear the message.
Could be.
But yeah, that's it.
Yes. We know it's going to be replaced with Zootopia, Better Zoogether, and that's celebrating diversity among species living together in harmony, which really is at the heart of Animal Kingdom. And I know you're excited about this as well, right? I
am. And I know not a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say not a lot of people. There are several people that aren't thrilled with it. They're not thrilled with Zootopia going in Animal Kingdom because it's a park that is really about animals, and Zootopia, maybe it's something about animals wearing pants, a lot, so it's not the same. But one thing I will say about Zootopia, there's great messages within Zootopia, but also when they created this, they studied some of the what animals do on a very given time and how they survive in the wild and things. And they actually incorporated that, even though, yes, they're living like human beings as animals. There's still some herd mentality. There's the
Right.
watering hole. There's a lot of things that animals do that they did try and showcase within that film. So I feel like maybe as long as this show, which I love Zootopia, the movie, as long as it showcases some of those similar things, I think it will fit within the park very well.
Right,
And
right,
it's going to open, it's going to open up that space to some, people that are maybe younger and know Zootopia, but maybe don't know Bug's Life. I'm sorry that because A Bug's Life should get more representation
right.
within the parks because it is such a great film. And I'm sorry that that's kind of going away, but it is what it is. The world is what it is. And I'm excited to see what the show brings with it.
Right, exactly. Now, in Discovery Island, there are two adjoining hotspots when we're talking a lot of each of these areas, the food and drink. They have Tiffin's and Nomad Lounge, which I know is something that we've talked about. I think it's an area that gets a lot of discussion, especially Nomad's Lounge. But I think what's important about what's highlighted in storytelling and edutainment in both of these locations is their message of conservation and sustainability. Do you have thoughts on that?
I do. I mean, I think one, they're showing throughout those spaces, and especially within Tiffin's, some of the conservation efforts that are going on, and they are actually. It is also there's some really interesting stuff in there that has been brought back or recreated from Joe Rohde's and the Imagineers trips
Mm-hmm.
to visit many of these places around the world. But also, I mean, it is so important. Sustainability in food is so important because, I mean, you can get it in a little bit of it living with the land, and it's no coincidence that they have the land salad
Mm-hmm.
in Tiffin's, and you can also get it at the Nomad Lounge often. It's because of the fact that they're trying to showcase in living with the land, but also here that it's important for us as a people, especially as we grow and have more and more people on this planet, seemingly every single day, that we find new ways to be able to keep our food source sustainable, and
Mm-hmm.
be able to keep that going and keep being able to feed our society, because there are still many parts of this world that they can't or they struggle with it. And so new ways, new advancements to make sure that we're creating food in the best way possible where we can keep creating that food and making it healthy and making it nutritious is very important. And they showcase a lot of that stuff within these fine spots.
Exactly. So, one other thing, just pointing out about the Tiffin's restaurant and Nomad's Lounge is their flavors are bolder. So they are a little bit more adventurous than what you'd see in other parts of the parks, but they are amazing, and a lot of attention to detail in appearance, presentation, and their taste.
And you still, if you're still somebody who maybe has a simpler palate, there's still things on there like
Right.
where you can get like chicken fingers, they can get kids meals for the kids and everything. They still exist. Just because there's some more adventurous dining on there, Disney still knows who their clientele is, and they know they need to have some options on for
For
those
sure.
who maybe don't have as adventurous a palate as some others.
Right. Right. Good point. Thank you. One other thing I wanted to point out about Discovery Island, it again being the central part of the hub, is that it's they're really emphasizing here the connections and how important protection of, whether we're talking sustainability with food or preserving animals, exactly, and really making sure that this protection efforts is being carried on for the future. Now, Joe Rohde is, on the Disney. He had. Bleh.
Easy for you to say.
I guess not. Joe Rohde, he was talking to people in an interview about the Disney Conservation Fund, and I thought this quote was also very helpful. He said, "The Disney Conservation Fund came into existence because it simply had to come into existence if we had expected to ever build Disney's Animal Kingdom. It started as a kind of logical and inevitable proposition. If we wanted to have legitimate venue that held live wild animals, we would have to be a part of the broader national and global effort to protect and conserve those animals. And that would be involved by creating the conservation fund. He said, well before the park opened, we began forming the actual organization. We wanted to distribute lots of smaller allocations, but mainly to field applications where the funds would go to do the most good. That is still the case, having now given over $120 million to conservation causes around the world.
Wow. That's impressive and good and important. For sure.
Right. And so it's like he said, that they're not just saying, okay, let's give multi-million to this well-known conservation efforts. It's looking at, local, in Florida, some of the efforts with, turtle conservation or wetlands conservation, et cetera, and giving them, maybe a smaller amount of,
micro donations.
Right. Micro donations like $100,000, $200,000, but they can use that money to do a lot in those areas.
A little bit of both, a little bit of macro, a little bit of micro. You're able to, get distributed to where it needs to go in both aspects.
Right.
And, it's very impressive that they look at it that way, like you said, rather than just going for this giant, conservation charity and just saying, yeah, you do with it what you want. We'll donate the money, but finding those little spaces that need it more, that may get overlooked,
right,
is really impactful and important,
right, or have a harder time,
yes,
getting those funds. I mean, the other thing that Disney Animal Kingdom does is, and it's not necessarily monetary, is that they are setting the standards for a lot of their efforts, whether you're talking diet planning or health preservation of animals and wild animals. They have come up with processes that can be shared throughout the world, whether you're talking in other zoos or just in the wild.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're really, you've seen it if you've watched the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom, you've seen their efforts and what they do to try and learn and process and find new ways to do things. And yes, as it gets shared with other animal, care places around the world, for sure. But I think this gets, a lot of people always talk about, oh, I wish Disney's Animal Kingdom would be open later. Oh, I wish there was a nighttime spectacular at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The fact that they don't stay open later, the fact that they don't keep the animals out extra late, the fact that there isn't something like that nighttime spectacular shows where their focus is in that park, and that is for the animals. Yes, of course, the park would be, as a theme park, be that much more amazing if they did all those things. But when it's all said and done, the animals are what's really, really important. And that's what this park is about.
Right. And showing that respect. So, all right. So as we start to wrap up, I do want to share some fun facts that I always like to do. So we have a couple things here that I wanted to share with you. So the first one here is a nod to a legend is what I call. And they have this sign. If you look at it, the way it's spelled, it says his name, Joe Rohde, and it's
almost one word. Yeah,
yes.
You can see the slide if you're watching on YouTube.
Right. So if you go there, you can see this Joe Rohde mask and beads. It looks like it's a storefront, and then they also have highlighted their earrings, and that again is,
Joe Rohde has an earring.
He has an earring. He wears an earring on one of his ears, and so I thought that was such a cute nod that you could, we talk about hidden Mickeys. This is really cute,
and that's in Tusker House.
Right, exactly. So the other thing I wanted to point out as a fun fact is that there's a temple there that is formed to be an exact same shape as the attraction, the Expedition Everest.
It's a great spot to get a photo. They often is a Disney PhotoPass photographer there to get kind of a photo with Expedition Everest. It's right next to that. But yeah,
But it's funny that the outline of it, and if you're looking here on the screen, you can see the outline of that temple is an exact replica of
yeah,
the
it's pretty amazing.
attraction. It
It's
is
pretty
pretty
amazing. Yeah.
amazing. The other thing that was interesting to find out was that you can have weddings at night at Disney's Animal Kingdom
Mm.
that are really impressive. I've included here, if you're watching on YouTube, one of the areas where they have, and even they said you can go dancing in the streets, of Africa or whatever. I also noticed they highlighted one where it was in front of the Tree of Life. That was stunning. So if you're planning a wedding or a big event, you might want to consider using not just as a backdrop, but as part of your storytelling of your event.
See, you want to be at Animal Kingdom at night? All you need to do is plan a wedding, get married, find that person that you want to get married with, spend a lot of money, because I'm sure there's no joke that's got. I know that there's all sorts of levels of weddings at Disney. Whatever they paid for that has got to be amazing. But still, if you can do it, that's pretty cool.
But that would be a cool
That
place,
is,
like
that'll be
to
memorable.
have a
That's for
band
sure.
there and
Yeah.
you're dancing there. Yeah, yeah, it seems really cool. And the last one that I wanted to share is in regards to their emphasis on reduce, recycle, and reuse. And I put here got milk because there are benches in there. If you look, there's park benches. They're very colorful. They're made 100% of recycled milk cartons.
Love that.
And, it really shows their attention to their commitment.
I love that you wouldn't know it too. Like,
Right.
it just looks like another bench. The fact that it's all reusing, recycling, reusing, and thusly reducing is amazing and fantastic. And they're beautiful benches.
Right, exactly. And I think, what you just said here kind of is the whole theme of, some of our past experiences is you didn't know and you just couldn't appreciate maybe as much of what's going on with the park. And one of the things that you can also do to get some better appreciation of the park as you're going through is the Play Disney app. Has a lot of things that you can interact with, whether you're in a queue or just walking around, that they have. They may go more in depth into some of the explanation of some of the animals or whatever, but you can work to become a conservation hero. And it's not just for kids. It's got some really fun things that you can do. So I would encourage consideration of that, as well as, what we touched on before, the wilderness explorers, getting your badge, going through. Again, we've done it and really found some interesting facts as we went around. It definitely is geared to be kid friendly, but it's not necessarily only focused for kids. They really do share
You
a lot
will
of
learn some things.
Yes.
Even as an adult, you will learn
really
some things when
amazing
you do
things.
it. I mean, a lot of the questions they ask and things they show, it's maybe a little simplistic and, ready for children, but you will learn. I learned things as we went through it for sure. 100%.
Definitely. So a couple things to consider. And I know you're going to, in the news stories, I'm not going to go into everything, but I do want to emphasize that they are having some, as the Summer of Kid comes up this summer at Disney World at Animal Kingdom, they say they're going to have explore new paths with an adventure map. And you're going to be able to dance with some favorite Disney characters at musical festivals there in the park.
Fun.
So
really cool.
Yeah. So one of the last quotes I want to share with you, another Joe Rohde quote. And I came across it again, another interview where he was talking about Animal Kingdom. He said, "We had to overcome two hurdles. One was that people thought they already knew what it would be, just a big zoo. And that this would not work. We needed to reboot that thinking. And more than that, even if we convinced people it could be a theme park, we still needed to contradict many of the rules that made theme parks work."
And it definitely accomplishes all that.
Yes.
It was a success.
Yes.
In that regard.
So
in many regards, but
right.
especially that regard.
So just to wrap up, what I'm going to share is more of my personal journey into this. I never thought Animal Kingdom was definitely not among my favorite parks. And I just felt kind of like that, like it's a big zoo. And I knew it had some of the attractions that we've enjoyed. It's not like I didn't like going to it. I just didn't feel the connection to it. And I think as I researched this, I really found a new connection with this park. And I'm now really excited to go on the adventure of exploring this park in a different way. And hopefully some of you might take something from this to inspire you to see it differently. But we also want to invite people who, if you have wonderful experiences at Animal Kingdom you want to share, we have our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group, or you can email and we'll share it in the future episode. But I think it's definitely a park worth taking a different perspective on.
Yeah. And then there's going to be some people out there like, well, finally you saw the light. Yes.
I know.
There's a lot of people that this is their favorite park for all the reasons that you've discussed and others as well. But I think a lot of people see this park and they see, Expedition Everest, they see Pandora, they see the Kilimanjaro safaris. We're good. And sometimes we fell into that trap as well, admittedly. But yeah, there's so much more to it than that. And your journey into this, I'm glad, obviously, it opened up your eyes. It's opened up my eyes. And hopefully for some of you out there, hopefully it's opened up for your eyes as well. And something that you might take in. Maybe it will become more than that. For a long time, it's gotten that tab as a half-day park.
Right.
Maybe, your explorations, if nothing else, to enjoy the fact of what they've done and what they've created and how important it is to do what they've done and how much of a risk it kind of was to do what they did and for it to become many people's favorite park. And I'm not going to say it's going to be Michelle's favorite park, but obviously it's moving up the list as she learns more and more about it.
Yeah, most definitely.
As well.
Well, thank you, honey. So hopefully it was inspiring.
Definitely was for me. Definitely was for me. And that is Disney's Animal Kingdom, one park, any world.